Livewire coming at you with a Game Pass review of Close to the Sun. Although this game was recently added to Game Pass, this game was actually released in 2019 on PC, then eventually was ported over to all major consoles. Developed by Storm in the Teacup using the Unreal Engine and published by Wired Productions, Close to the Sun is a first-person horror adventure with a detailed and chilling environment similar to the likes of BioShock. But without further ado, let's review. The story is set in an alternate reality of 1897 where two real-life inventors, Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, compete to be the lead man in the race of technological advancement throughout the world. You'll be playing the part of a journalist by the name of Rose Archer, who, after receiving a mysterious and urgent letter from her sister Ada, sets out to find and rescue her. Her sister is a lead researcher on board a ship called the Helios, a larger-than-life ocean liner created and funded by Tesla's company Wardenclyffe, named after the real-life Wardenclyffe Tower, also known as the Tesla Tower. This is a ship that's designed in part to be where any and all forms of experiments and research can take place without the interference from the outside world or government. The grand majority of the game is going to take place on the Helios. As you arrive on the Helios, you are greeted by a smorgasbord of malfunctioning parts and systems. You'll eventually discover that the main reason for the malfunctioning systems is a leak of what they call exotic energy, which is essentially energy they are harvesting from other dimensions. This, of course, has caused its fair share of unintended consequences. Now, I don't want to ruin anything for you, but there are plenty of twists and turns in the story that will keep you interested up until the very end. Now, I think this story had a lot going for it. Overall, it was quite unique in that it brought a somewhat newer concept with the harvesting of interdimensional energy to power the planet, and the fact that it takes place in an alternate version of 1897 allows it to stay pretty grounded, almost as if all this was possible. But it also tries to tackle two incredibly complicated subjects: time travel and alternate dimensions, both of which can be very challenging to completely pull off. And this is kind of where the game just didn't stick the landing for me, in particular the time travel piece. I kept waiting for them to tie it all together somehow at the end, and it just never happened. And considering a lot of the plot mystery hinged on how all of this would tie together, definitely is a missed opportunity. They do leave the game open at the end for a potential sequel, which could maybe offer some further explanation, but I think they should have just found a way to fully resolve this plot within the game and not leave it to a sequel to solve. As much praise as I gave the uniqueness of the story, the same can't be said for the gameplay. There's no combat whatsoever, which is fine because it actually leans into that stealth horror classification more than anything else, and certainly has some puzzles sprinkled in for good measure. The game also features these chase sequences, which do certainly add those heart-pounding moments that you'd somewhat expect from a game that is classified as a horror game, but I just felt like they were too far and few between to really make a huge impact, pretty much making the gameplay a glorified walking sim. Now, one of the cooler aspects of the gameplay are the random ghost encounters from the past, which, as you eventually find out, is all related to the exotic energy leak. From a controls perspective, the controls are smooth for the most part and are easy to pick up. I did feel like in the running sequences, the directional control was a little clunky, but it wasn't too bad. In general, though, I wouldn't expect to be wowed or moved by the gameplay in Close to the Sun. Now, where this game really hits the mark is the immersion factor, because when it comes to the visuals and environment, chef's kiss. The game does such a fantastic job really emulating what I'd imagine a vessel of this size would look like. From an audio perspective, even the smallest step sounded like you were walking on metal. The zapping and crackling of the electricity spewing out of these severed electrical wires, or the roar of the various fires that you encounter. Audio is top-notch. From a visual perspective, it feels like the development team really nailed this as well, down to the very small details. Not only does everything look and feel like a ship as it should, but it also looks like a ship that would have been built in an alternate version of 1897. Now look, I get it. We don't have anything really to compare that to for accuracy. Certainly no real ships like this were being built in 1897, but the ship doesn't look modern, so for that, I'd say that it fits the bill. The lighting, and in a lot of cases, lack thereof, really add to the overall creepy vibe that you want in a game like this. I did notice in a couple scenarios some frame rate drops, in particular whenever you would encounter these damn flies, which unfortunately are everywhere since the place is riddled with dead bodies, but I only noticed that occasionally, so not too bad. The devs also did a spectacular job at dressing the Helios up to really look like the luxurious ship it is outside of the standard ship looking components. But don't think they didn't dress up the components too. You'll find supreme examples of what the high quality, otherworldly tech could look like, and quite honestly, I'm all here for it. Alright, now that we're done with the review, let's give it a score. Overall, when it comes to Close to the Sun, I give it a 6.2. Definitely worth the download and playthrough for the story and visuals, but the gameplay really holds it back. I feel like had they added more stealth to the gameplay, it would have felt less like a walking sim, and more like the game they were trying to pull off. But that's it. I hope y'all found this review fair and informative. If you did, make sure to like, link, subscribe down below. Until next time.